Okay, welcome back. Now, today's episode, I'm going to talk about burnout. I'm going to try and keep this very short and sweet. So, without going into all the details, I went through burnout. I've just come out the other end of it. And there was a lot of stuff that occurred in the last 3 years in my life. But ultimately, the pandemic caused me to burn out. Customers, abusive customers, and different situations. And of course, I understand my frequency was not where it should have been. Okay. And I was not able to remain neutral. And I really saw that my mental health was being affected in the job that I was performing. If you find yourself going through a job burnout, you very much need to consider if you can continue doing that job. If you take paid time off and go and have a vacation and you're going to feel completely recharged and you come back and you've shaken off the feeling that you've been feeling great, then it really wasn't a burnout. But if there's something significantly going on with you where you feel like no more, you hit a wall and you say to yourself, I cannot do this insanity for another day, that is something you need to pay attention to because that is your body and your brain talking to you in a big way and you have to address it. So if you go through that burnout at your job, you have to find a different job. You have to find a different job. So do not quit hastily because that's going to put more financial strain on you, more stress. Find a different job. If you have to take something with less hours, like instead of 40 hours, maybe you're doing 30, 35, it's just a little bit less strenuous. Perfect. If it's something different than what you were doing, but it's still bringing you a paycheck, do it. It's temporary. You need something to allow you to shut off that executive function in your brain. And to be quite honest, when I went through it, I every day questioned, is this depression or is this burnout? And I had to ask this question all the time because I wanted to be sure, because I needed to know how to tackle my feeling, my physical feeling, and how I was going to get out of this. And I was researching a lot. I was looking things up on YouTube. There were TED Talks about it can take 2 to 3 years to come out of a burnout. I said, there's no way I'm going to allow this to take the next 2 years of my life to get out of this. But it's very important that you take care of yourself. And you have to understand there might be things that you lose in the process. And it is what it is. Okay? If you can't physically do things because you just are at the end of your rope, or you've burned the wick down as far as it'll go, you now need to focus on yourself. You now need to focus on rebuilding your energy. And that's my next thing. I recommend, if you find yourself in this scenario, that you focus on your pranayama more than ever. And I'm not saying you have to do tons of it, but I'm like, even if you can do 5-minute intervals here and there, if you do pranayama as your normal part of your energy rebuilding, I would recommend maybe adding another 5-10 minutes throughout the day if you can do it. Anything more that's going to help you recharge yourself. Pranayama it gives you energy when you do it. I think anybody that does it can attest to that you feel awake, alert, and energized after you do a session. It's very important to do that. Even if you can ground, that's important. Getting that energy into you is super important. But take time for yourself to relax. Allow your body the freedom to relax, to maybe sleep a little more, to maybe not get up and rush out of the house on your days off or whatever. Just take it easy if you can, okay? Because it's not a fun time, Okay. And ultimately, what I learned through my burnout was I needed boundaries big time. And I needed boundaries with my boss. And she didn't like those boundaries, but oh well. I'm talking about the last boss, this most previous boss. She didn't like my boundaries. Tough tooties, okay? Because you're getting my boundaries whether you like them or not. I've set them. And if you don't like them, too bad. You're not abusing me. So that not willing to take abuse from anybody, you know, again, if you find yourself in a situation like that and then you find yourself in a job where somebody's acting that way to you, again, you're going to have to make a change. These are temporary changes. I'm not talking about being permanent in any way, shape, or form, but your energy is the most important thing. Your energy is the most important thing. Give yourself self care. Give yourself the subconscious self care, the inner self care, the talk that you're talking to yourself. This is where reparenting kind of helped a lot for me as well, in addition to the other benefits that I was doing the reparenting for. Okay. And telling yourself it's okay to take a day off. It is okay. You deserve this. It is all right to take it easy for for a time, a chance, whatever it is, because I guarantee you're doing more than you should be doing. You're expending more energy. You're in a position that's too super stressful, and you need to make a change. If you go through burnout is your signal that you need a change, that what you're doing is not sustainable. And isolate yourself from stressors. Isolate yourself from stressors and take as many responsibilities as you can remove from your plate. Do it. I'm not saying don't pay your bills. I'm not saying that. I'm saying try to lessen the stress of your responsibilities. So like I said, if you go from a 40-hour week to maybe a 30-hour week, whatever it's going to take, do it. And give yourself the time to recharge. Most important thing. I know that she has said that water is not incredibly beneficial for source players. However, there is something about being in a hot bath that releases oxytocin, and oxytocin is a happiness hormone. And I'm not somebody who wants oxytocin released in a relationship, because that bonds you to somebody. I've made a recent video about that. I'm not talking about being bonded with somebody. I'm talking about you producing the oxytocin in your body yourself so that you are benefiting from that chemical hormone release in you. That is giving you the happiness, ways that you can increase your dopamine and your oxytocin within yourself and nobody else being involved. That's important to do. And ultimately what I realize, I've been given a fortunate amount of time here where there's no deadline. There's nobody breathing down my neck, that I can repair my life and rebuild, and then making an ultimate change in isolating myself from my toxic boss and cutting off communication. If you have somebody toxic in your life that is being problematic, you need to go no contact with that person. Very minimal contact if you're working for them and you have to communicate, but ultimately you have to go no contact with those people and get them out of your life, because they will suck you dry. And that was where that pivotal moment really happened for me in the last couple of months, because once I was like, no more, and I hung up on a conversation where I was not going to listen to the toxic rants or behavior anymore. I was like, I am not, because I communicated many times that I was doing everything to guard my mental health with this woman from the very beginning, and she was incredibly abusive. But even before then, so ultimately I prioritized my mental health, and I had boundaries for myself. I knew what I wasn't going to tolerate anymore, and I stuck by them. So I honored myself. I didn't give in to these arbitrary professional ways of being for a person, like giving somebody respect because they're the boss of a company, when it's recognizing your own power. In my case, I was an independent contractor, so somebody telling me, well, I'm the boss, well, technically you're not. So you can huff and puff and blow your house down all you want. You're not my boss at the end of the day. I am my boss. You're contracting with me. And that's like, knowing that situation that you're in is your superpower, in addition to knowing who you are. You know what I mean? So ultimately, that's where it was for me. Like, you don't scare me. You're not going to have me shaking in my booties in any way, shape, or form. I am unshakable. So that was it. So once I really isolated from her, I have really rebounded, and I feel like myself again. And of course, like I said, I've taken that time to recharge and to focus on the inner stuff as much as I can do, because my body, my mind doesn't always cooperate with me, so I do it as best I can. But you gotta do the self-care, whether it's internal or external. It's super important, and you will come out of it. And and no way, if somebody tells you, well, it's going to take you 2 years to, no, absolutely not. You don't accept it. You determine. You determine, and you make that a priority for yourself. You're numero uno. You are the main character in your life, and that's the one that you have to focus on and pay attention to. All right, that's it on this. Thank you very much. Be well. Next video, I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.